Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are focusing on a really monumental structural shift for anyone who buys or builds a personal computer.
And this isn't the usual story. It's not about traffic jams in the supply chain or, the standard market cycles.
No, this is about a fundamental reprioritization of global resources, and it is hitting your wallet right now.
Yeah, here's the hook you really need to get your head around. Just between September and December of 2025.
So just a 3-month window.
Exactly. A standard 16-gigabyte DDR5 desktop memory module. Its price just jumped dramatically. What cost you roughly $8 in September?
Yeah.
By December, it was selling for $13 to $15.
That is a 60, maybe 75% retail increase in just 3 months. And when you look at the raw contract prices for the chips themselves, the increase is, what, something like 298%?
A staggering number. And this explosion, it also hits NAND flash your SSDs just as hard. NAND costs are rising up to 246%. And this time, it's not gamers, it's not crypto miners. It's driven by the most resource-intensive technological force we've ever seen: artificial intelligence.
So our mission today is to deep dive into the source material, all the market analysis, the manufacturer forecasts, geopolitical documents, to really understand this structural crisis in commodity memory.
And we want to figure out what the next 2 to 3 years look like for you, the consumer, and see how regions like the USA, Europe, and India are going to handle this pressure differently.
Okay, let's unpack this. We've established the initial data shock is, well, it's massive. This isn't a typical cyclical shortage.
No, not at all. You said it. This is a fundamental reallocation of the entire global memory supply chain.
Like, it's a deliberate shift.
It is.
Okay.
We need to start with the demand drivers. The main culprits are the hyperscalers.
Right. Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta.
And ByteDance. Their explosive expansion of AI infrastructure requires an insatiable amount of memory, and they're just pulling it directly out of the consumer market.
And it's crucial to understand they don't just need one type of memory, right?
Yeah.
It's not just the stuff we use in our PCs.
That's right. Modern AI servers, they run on these heterogeneous memory architectures. It's a mix of chips for different jobs.
So they need conventional DDR5, which we all use.
Yes. And they also need LPDDR5X, that's the smaller, more power-efficient memory you usually find in high-end smartphones or laptops.
And now it's going into servers.
Exactly. The source material points to NVIDIA's strategy of using LPDDR5X in their AI hardware. That gives them the purchasing scale of a major smartphone maker, and it just instantly starves the mobile device market.
But the real heavy hitter, the one really changing the game, is high bandwidth memory. HBM.
HBM is the game changer, absolutely. It's this specialized three-dimensional stack of chips that gets integrated right onto the AI GPU.
So it's way more complex to produce than the commodity DDR5 you'd buy for a desktop.
Oh, massively. And every time a manufacturer converts a production line to make HBM instead of DDR5, that's just less consumer memory being made, period.
And that brings us to the scale of the problem. I mean, there's one data point that really synthesizes why your PC memory is suddenly so expensive.
I think I know the one you're talking about.
It's OpenAI's Stargate project, that massive supercomputer they're planning.
It's projected to demand 900,000 DRAM wafers monthly.
Okay, let's just pause on that number. 900,000 wafers a month.
To put that in perspective for you, that is nearly 40% of the current global DRAM output.
So a single AI project.
A single AI project is slated to consume almost half of what the entire world produces today.
So we're not talking about a simple market adjustment here. The whole industry is tilting on its axis.
Yeah.
But, okay, if the profit margins on HBM are so huge, why aren't the big three, Samsung, SK Hynix, Micron, just racing to ramp up commodity DDR5 production to fill that gap? What's stopping them?
Well, the memory giants have long memories of their own. They are deliberately constraining commodity DRAM production. They're prioritizing the high-margin HBM for data centers.
High margin over high volume.
Exactly. Samsung, for instance, is raising prices by about 60% while actively restricting growth on its commodity DRAM lines.
And beyond the business side, there's just the harsh physical reality of manufacturing.
Absolutely. Building new fabrication plants, new fabs, it's a massive undertaking. We're talking 3 to 5 years from planning to full production.
And billions of dollars.
Billions. And they are all acutely wary of previous boom and bust cycles. There is a palpable fear of an AI bubble that's stopping them from aggressively expanding capacity for the cheaper commodity chips.
So the result is a guaranteed shortage for the foreseeable future.
Precisely. And the numbers, they're painful. The forecast is for 35% demand growth in 2026 versus only 23% supply growth.
That's a 12-point gap.
It's the deepest supply-demand imbalance the industry has seen in decades.
Yeah.
And all that pressure, it gets transferred to the lowest priority buyer.
The consumer.
The consumer.
Okay, here's where it gets really important for you, the listener. What does this structural shift mean for your wallet in Q1 and Q2 of 2026?
Well, the effects are already rippling out. Major PC OEMs, Dell, Lenovo, HP, they've already announced 15 to 20% price increases on their systems, effective early 2026.
Right, citing component costs. So let's track that memory module again, the one that went from $8 to $15 by December 2025.
That module is projected to hit $18 to $22 by Q1 2026. But the worst pressure, according to our sources, is Q2.
And that's when the shortage hits its peak.
Maximum severity. Industry forecasts show that same 16-gig DDR5 module could reach $25 to $30 retail.
That's a threefold increase from the September 2025 price.
It is, and the NAND market is just as bad. We have warnings of a 246% price increase there, with a lot of that surge happening in just a 60-day window.
This sounds like the end of the cheap, easily upgraded custom PC, at least for a while. We're seeing a shift in how people buy things.
I mean, memory components now account for roughly 18% of the total system cost. Historically, it was 7 or 8%.
It's the death of the affordable DIY market. For decades, the advice was, build your own PC to save money.
That advice is now officially dead, at least for this crisis. One custom builder, CyberPowerPC, cited a 500% surge in their RAM costs. It forced them to sell only bundled PC Plus memory packages.
It's just not economically rational to build your own anymore.
Not when core components are this expensive. The big OEMs, they can secure massive bulk allocations directly from the manufacturer, so they get much better pricing than you can buying piece by piece on the spot market.
Right, and IDC is forecasting the DIY market will decline 15 to 20% through 2026.
And retailers are already in emergency mode. In Taiwan, they're imposing strict one-to-one motherboard to DRAM bundling.
So you can't just buy the RAM.
No. In Japan, they've put purchase limits, 4 units per customer, to stop hoarding. That tells you how stressed the entire system is.
So when do we get relief? What's the projected recovery timeline?
The bad news is, this shortage is projected to persist right through 2027. We might see relief starting late 2027, maybe early 2028, as some new multi-billion-dollar fabs start coming online.
Like SK Hynix's M15X fab.
Right. But even that new capacity is going to flow to data centers first, not to you.
And the sources are suggesting that even when prices do stabilize, we shouldn't expect a return to the good old days.
Correct. This is a structural new normal. Analysts project prices stabilizing at about 1.8 to 2 times the 2024 baseline. You won't be paying $30 anymore, but you certainly won't be paying $8 again. The cost floor has fundamentally reset.
Now let's step outside the U.S. for a moment and look at how this crisis is playing out very differently depending on where you live. The source material points to a painful divergence across the globe.
India, for example, faces acute vulnerability. This is a market that relies heavily on falling hardware prices, and it struggles with currency fluctuation against the dollar.
So they have less capacity to absorb these kinds of shocks.
Much less. And the impact is severe. Sources show Indian PC buyers are facing the highest system price increases, projected to peak up to 25.4% in Q2 2026.
Can you give us a concrete example?
Sure. A high-end 64-gigabyte DDR5 kit, which had already jumped to about 55 or 60,000 rupees by December 2025.
Which is about $600 or $700 US dollars.
Right. That same kit is projected to peak near 100,000 rupees. That's a 79% increase for one component in just 6 months.
And the cascading effect must be hitting entry-level electronics even harder. That's where the pain is really felt.
Exactly. Laptop makers like Asus and Dell have issued price increase notices, but the critical part is smartphones Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, they're all warning of 20 to 30% retail increases because of LPDDR5X costs.
So we're seeing them being forced to cut corners.
Yeah, reducing base memory configurations, dropping from 8 GB to 4 GB in their entry-level models just to stretch the dwindling supply they have.
Meanwhile, the USA and Europe seem to fare a bit better, but they still face sustained pressure.
Moderate but sustained, yes. System prices in the US and Europe are projected to rise, say, 4 to 8%. Their economies can just absorb those costs better.
But at the component level, the inflation is higher.
Oh yeah, around 12 to 16%. For them, availability is the biggest issue. System integrators are having to carefully manage their allocations, which just means you might have to wait a lot longer for that custom build.
This raises a really important question. Why is China the exception to all this global pain?
Their domestic price increases are remarkably modest, in the 5 to 10% range.
And the reason is?
Government-backed localization and vertical integration. They have essentially created their own protected ecosystem.
So tell us more about the companies providing that insulation.
You have state-backed memory companies like CXMT, that's Chingxin Memory Technologies, their DRAM specialist, and YMTC, Yangtze Memory, for NAND flash. They prioritize supplying massive domestic tech giants.
Huawei, Alibaba, Baidu?
All of them.
Yeah.
And this creates a kind of dual-track market that just bypasses the Western allocation constraints that are strangling everyone else.
That market differentiation brings us directly to the geopolitics of this whole thing. The consumer market is being starved, and the global competitive landscape is fundamentally shifting.
A key symbolic event really underscored this shift. In November 2025, Micron shut down its crucial consumer brand entirely.
Wow.
A major global supplier just signaled its complete exit from retail consumer memory. They chose the stability of B2B data center contracts instead.
And the sources are clear that this entire shortage is directly accelerating China's drive for technological independence.
It is. It's a direct response to U.S. export controls that had previously imposed sanctions on their access to HBM.
And what's fascinating here is how quickly they're narrowing that technology gap.
It's incredible. CXMT developed HBM2 and even HBM3 samples by mid-2025. They're targeting mass production for 2026 to 2027. Now, their Korean peers still have a 2 or 3 year lead, but that progress is accelerating because of massive coordinated state support.
And we're seeing collaboration between these domestic champions, too. They aren't just working in isolation.
No, not at all. YMTC, the NAND flash player, is partnering with CXMT to leverage its proprietary bonding technology, which they call X-stacking.
And that's crucial for HBM.
It's essential for stacking the chips, and leveraging that tech could differentiate their HBM products. On top of that, Huawei's Ascend processor roadmap already includes their own proprietary HBM, which they claim is competitive with HBM3E.
So we are really heading toward a truly bifurcated future.
Analysts predict China could approach functional parity with Korean HBM by 2027-2028. This creates a structurally bifurcated global supply chain. Chinese suppliers capture that massive domestic AI demand,
Which, ironically,
could eventually moderate price pressure in the West just by taking that huge chunk of demand off the global market.
So let's zoom out to the macro perspective for a second. This component crisis isn't just about RAM prices. It has massive implications for the global economy.
It does. If these memory constraints delay the global AI build-out by 12 months or more because you simply can't get the memory to build the servers, the deferred investments could easily exceed $100 billion.
And that has real consequences for GDP growth assumptions.
Absolutely. Those assumptions rely on rapid AI productivity gains. Plus, elevated component costs feed directly into consumer price inflation for every single device, from PCs to phones.
That puts you, the learner, in a very tricky situation. Given everything we've analyzed, the guaranteed shortage, the peak in Q2 2026, the high new normal, what should your strategic move be?
The sources give us 3 pretty clear, actionable recommendations. First, if you absolutely need a premium upgrade, a high-end gaming rig, a professional workstation, the advice is to buy it in Q1 2026.
Get ahead of that Q2 peak pricing. Buy now or suffer later.
Exactly. Second, if the upgrade is non-essential, just a nice to have,
That decision.
defer it. Wait until Q4 2026 or even later, when the earliest capacity additions might begin to trickle in and ease the supply margins a little. Don't pay the peak tax.
And the third, and probably most painful takeaway for a lot of enthusiasts, is about how you buy the system.
You really have to evaluate pre-built systems over buying components piece by piece. Because the OEMs secure those bulk allocations, they will deliver demonstrably better value. The era of building your own PC for maximum savings is, temporarily but structurally, on pause.
The 2026-2028 memory crisis isn't just about cost. It's about a structural shift in technological priority. The consumer market's needs are now structurally secondary to AI data centers. The recovery will bring a new normal, where prices never return to 2024 levels. For you, the question going forward is this. As memory becomes a premium commodity reserved primarily for AI infrastructure, will the future of consumer computing shift entirely to devices that integrate or virtualize their memory, rather than relying on the traditional, user-upgradable modular PC architecture we've known for decades? It forces a new perspective on what personal computing really means.